Most people don't know what alignment feels like. So when something feels off, they blame themselves. They think something's wrong with them. They try to fix it by working harder. But alignment isn't something you think your way into. It's something you feel in your body. Those feelings, good or bad, are signals. In human design, those signals are called signature and not self. Hi, I'm RJ and welcome to Alchemy with RJ. In the previous videos slash tracks, depending on where you're catching this, we talked about type, which is all about what kind of energy you have and how your interacts with the world, and strategy, which is all about how you work with your energy from moment to moment. But there's still a question people get stuck on. How do I know if I'm actually aligned? That's where signature and not self come in. These are built in signposts that show you when you're on track and when you're working against your design. And once you understand these, you stop guessing and start trusting what you feel. So, every type has a signature and a not self theme. These are emotional and energetic signals. Signature shows up when you are aligned, when you're using your energy in the way you were designed to. Not self shows up when you are forcing, when you're feeling misaligned, when you're moving against your nature, against your design. So here's the thing, they are not good or bad. They are simply information that allow you to get back into alignment. Our signature is what we experience when we are on the right track. It's the signpost that tells us, keep going. Our not self is what we experience when we are off track and not in alignment with our design. And it's an indicator that a course correction or recalibration is needed. And in both cases, the whole sort of purpose is to get you to walk your most aligned path. So, in that sense, both signature and not self are equally potent and equally important. All of us experience our not self from time to time. That's completely normal. Generally speaking, though, if you're consistently experiencing your not self emotion, it's helpful to take stock of your life and course correct as needed. This is why understanding your signature and not self is so helpful and so empowering. They are both amazing navigation tools. And like I said before, each type has a signature and not self. Let's start with generators. The generator's signature is satisfaction, and their not self is frustration. Satisfaction is a visceral feeling. It feels like being deeply lit up and excited about how they're using their energy. It's waking up naturally energized and inspired. It's this feeling of a magnetic pull toward aligned opportunities. It's work and relationships that feel meaningful. Satisfaction shows up when they are responding to what lights them up. Basically, it's what shows up when they are honoring their strategy and using their energy on the right things for them. The not self, frustration, is also visceral. It's this feeling of consistent stuckness. They feel exhausted despite all their effort. It feels like hitting walls, running into resistance. It's this feeling of lack of inspiration in work and relationships, like resentment toward current commitments, the inability to engage with anything with joy and meaning. Frustration shows up when they are initiating from their mind and not following their strategy. And it also shows up when they say yes to things out of obligation or are staying in work or commitments that drains them. So pay attention to when frustration shows up regularly and also in what area of your life. Generator, because that will show you where you got to do some course correction. So that was all about generator signature and not self. Now let's talk about manifesting generators. Their primary signature. Okay, so I got to backtrack a little bit. Manifesting generators are slightly different in the sense that they have two sets of signature and not self themes. So their primary signature is satisfaction, similar to generators, and their secondary signature is peace. Their primary not self theme is frustration, and their secondary not self is anger. Satisfaction feels like excitement about how they're using their energy, a sense of speed and progress with agility. It feels like aligned opportunities seem to find them effortlessly. There's a sense of meaningful fulfillment and genuine aliveness. Peace, which is their secondary signature, is this quiet sense of ease beneath all the movement and speed because manifesting generators are inherently quick. They feel liberated from other people's expectations, comfortable in their multi passionate nature. Satisfaction shows up when they are responding to what lights them up, followed by informing those who will be impacted by their actions beforehand. Basically, satisfaction shows up when they are honoring their strategy consistently. It also shows up when they're using their energy on correct things, things that light them up. And peace shows up when, again, they're using their strategy, when they're informing others of anything that they're going to do before they do it so that there's least amount of resistance to the action they're about to take. Their primary not self is frustration, which feels like being stuck in quicksand, like working hard but getting nowhere, perpetually exhausted despite all their activity. There's a sense of resentment towards commitments and a persistent sense of being out of flow. Anger, which is their secondary not self, signals a sort of deeper misalignment. It's this feeling of disempowerment, the sense of lacking freedom, this feeling of being stuck in commitments that don't serve them anymore. Frustration and anger both come up when they're not following their strategy. It comes from feeling boxed in, feeling like there's no space to express their multi passionate nature because that's sort of the very basis of their energetic makeup. It shows up from moving too fast without informing because it creates friction that could have been avoided. So, if you, as a manifesting generator, feel frustrated or angry often, that's a hint and a half that you need to take a good look at the source from which these feelings are coming and do what you can to bring yourself into alignment. All right. Now let's talk about the projector signature and not self. Their signature is success, and their not self is bitterness. Success for projectors is a little different from the conventional success that the world imposes on us, Success for projectors will be unique to, and each projector gets to sort of decide what success means to them. And success feels like being appreciated and treasured for their gifts, for sharing their authentic wisdom with the world and being recognized for it. It is basically success on their own terms, rooted in ease and recognition rather than exhaustion and proving. Basically, success shows up when they follow their strategy, which results in them being recognized and invited. And it shows up when their insights are valued because they see people so deeply. So being seen gives them that feeling of success. Their not self, which is bitterness, shows up as just feeling unseen and not receiving any appreciation, feeling invisible. It shows up as, burning out, trying to keep up with others because they are trying to derive worth from productivity rather than from their unique gifts. Bitterness builds when they don't follow their strategy of waiting for invitation and instead initiate, push, and force. It also builds when they give guidance without recognition, without actually being invited in, or when they drive themselves to work like the other types, trying to prove themselves based on how much they can do. If you, as a projector, feel bitterness consistently, it's an invitation by life to redirect your energy towards the people and places who that actually want what you have to offer. All right, that was all about projectors. Now let's move on to the manifestor's signature and not self. So, the manifestor's signature is peace, and their not self is anger. Peace feels like it's this feeling of moving through the world with minimal resistance, like their initiations are landing smoothly rather than, meeting walls. It's being able to be themselves, independent, autonomous, powerful, without having to justify their existence and without having to dim their impact. Peace shows up when they follow their strategy and initiate rather than waiting for permission. They inform those who will be impacted by their initiations and initiate and move freely. Anger, which is their not self, feels like consistently hitting walls. It feels like being met with resistance when they try to initiate. It's this feeling of being controlled when they just want to be free. It shows up when they're pestered with unwanted questions, and I, as a manifestor, can say that this is very, very true. It shows up when they are told to wait, when they're actually ready to act now, when they're told to when they're told what to do rather than being respected in their autonomy. I'm giggling right now because I cannot tell you how accurate this is. Yeah, as a manifestor, do not like it when others tell me what to do. It creates this deep feeling of disempowerment. And like my agency is being taken away from me, it feels like that. Yeah, it feels like I'm giving away my power. So that's what this feels like, the not self feels like. So basically, anger shows up when they ignore their strategy of initiating and informing. It shows up when they feel controlled, blocked, or prevented from acting freely. So, when you as a manifestor start feeling more anger than peace, you need to take a good hard look at where you might not be following your strategy and come back into your power and alignment. And honestly, like for every single type, whenever you're feeling your not self way more than you're feeling your signature, that's an invitation by life to get back to the basics, get back to your strategy, and start aligning yourself more towards your strategy and more towards your signature. All right, let's move on to the final type, reflectors. The reflector signature is surprise, and their not self is disappointment. Surprise to them feels like the sense of possibility, wonder, and awe. It feels like being curious and delighted by what life brings their way. Instead of feeling trapped by who they were yesterday or anxious about who they need to be tomorrow, when they are in their signature, when they're feeling their signature, they're present with whoever they are right now because there's that surprise and delight element to it. So surprise shows up when they're following and honoring their strategy. They are when they are in healthy environments, when they are letting life unfold naturally rather than trying to control it. Their not self is disappointment. It shows up as a feeling of being let down by people, places, by life itself. It shows up as this heavy, often physical sense of disillusionment. They get this sinking sensation. They feel exhausted, and sometimes they get this feeling of being flooded and smothered in the wrong environment or when they're around wrong people. Disappointment builds when they ignore their strategy and rush their actions and decisions. It also builds when they're in the wrong places or around wrong people. It also builds when they expect consistency from themselves, whereas, they're actually meant to be very fluid from day to day. So, if you, as a reflector, consistently feel disappointed, it's time to step back and see where you aren't honoring your strategy. That will give you the clarity you need to start stepping more into your signature, which is surprise. All right, so this part is important. All of these signposts that I discussed for each and every type, the signature and not self, they are happening all the time, whether you're aware of them or not. So, learning about signature and not self helps you to start listening to yourself. So, instead of asking, what should I do? You start asking, what is my experience telling me right now? And not in some abstract sense, not in some intellectual sense, but how it's feeling in your body. What is the visceral sense you're feeling from your gut, your feelings? So basically, it's a beautiful moment to moment guidance system, really. And this is the shift that happens. With signature and not self, you learn to course correct early. You stop before burning out. You recognize alignment as it is happening. You stop waiting for life to fall apart in order to realize something's off. I don't know about you, like this has happened to me so many times. So it's been so empowering to have a tool that helps me realize way beforehand that something's awry. With signature and not self, you start making smaller, cleaner adjustments in real time. So you're course correcting in real time. And honestly, this is how human design becomes lived and not just, understood at an intellectual level. So, what I just gave you now was an overview of signature and not self across all types. What I'm going to do next is create deep dives on each type. So, these will be focused type specific videos. So, keep an eye out for those. I will see you there.